Welcome back to the Now Morning Show. We're continuing Tobago Thursdays, and joining us is Councillor Petal-Ann Roberts, Secretary of Finance and the Economy from the THA. Good morning, Councillor Roberts, and welcome.
Hi, good morning, Natasha. Good morning, Tobago. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago, and your listening audience.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's a pleasure to have you. And we're really looking forward to this conversation, but we want to go back to the beginning of you being in office or being called to office. You took up the mantle of Finance Secretary just some days, if I'm not mistaken, after the Chief Secretary would have announced his call for the budget. What was that like for you?
Well, interesting. I've always been a part of the budget process, but now it has, since changed as Secretary of Finance. So prior to June 28th, on the day that I was appointed, I was a part of the team that crafted the budget statement. And, things have shifted strategically. I'm now charged with responsibility of managing Tobago's economy. And it's not only a great responsibility, but also a great opportunity for me to make a meaningful impact on the economic landscape of Tobago.
Now, as you mentioned, a meaningful impact, Councillor, what are some of the impacts that you would like to make, and how do you intend to do so?
First one, digitization. I think that digitization can aid us in getting to where, we would like to become in terms of the greatest little island on the planet. Productivity, improving efficiencies, and becoming a sustainable island. Digitization is definitely one of the measures that we can put in place to ensure that we get to that place.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, of course, on Monday, the budget is going to be read on the 30th of September. What areas would you say need priority? Let's start nationally first, and why would you say so?
Crime, definitely crime is a issue for all of us. I don't know if you're aware, but Tobago has been a victim of crime as well. More significantly, within the last 6 months, our murder rate is somewhere around 24% so far for the year. So I expect that the government will increase its measures for national security. I think youth development is very critical as well, because our youth are the victims of crime, the perpetrators of crime. And so therefore, I think that the government should focus on crime, youth development, and finding sustainable ways of engaging our youth and the socioeconomic factors that are affecting Trinidad and Tobago.
Now, in addition to the areas of crime and youth, which we have seen, of course, that continued conversation and investment around, is there anything else in particular that you would like to see brought to the forefront and focused on for the progression of Tobago?
For Tobago, definitely, there are so many areas. Well, crime is also on our plate, and as you know, we have our 5th schedule items that we are responsible for in Tobago, and national security is not one. But we have to collaborate with the central government to alleviate this problem. But more so in Tobago, the management of our debts. One of our main issues here in Tobago is the scarcity of financial resources in order to advance many of our projects. So managing our our liabilities as well, and we are also looking forward for a minimum of 5% from the national government for our budgetary allocation for fiscal 2025. We also have several initiatives on the table under health, education, tourism, and food security that we would like to advance. Notwithstanding the limited resources, we will still advance these, we'll prioritize them and try to advance and get these priorities on the way.
Oh, you just mentioned a minimum of 5%, Councillor. How positive is the team when it comes to believing that this is something that will come about, this request particularly?
Well, I don't have high expectations, but I'm hopeful. We did have conversations with the Minister of Finance. I did have 2 conversations with him, physically. We went to meet with him on a series of issues affecting Tobago that we need to bring to his attention. And we also had written to the minister and the prime minister in terms of the Dispute Resolution Commission and the reasonability and the fairness of the 5%. The 5% will represent the share of Tobago's population on the national population. And this 4.5% is definitely insufficient. We are not able to meet our liabilities. And also, what we are facing is the fact that our resources or releases are coming to the Tobago House of Assembly so late. So in turn, that's the negative effect that we have on our service providers here in Tobago as well. So we are expecting the government to accede to our request. It has been a long time that Tobago has been asking. I've seen successive governments pleading and requesting higher allocations. The allocations that I'm asking for of a minimum of 5% is not just an ask. It is to ensure that every Tobagonian gets an equal share of the national pie. Every citizen must get their equal share of the allocation, which is in terms of every dollar. So 5% of the national budget represents the 5% share of the population to the national population.
Councillor, one of the things that you just mentioned was resources coming late. When this happens, how does the team effectively manage just running everything? How are you able to mitigate all of the possible negative outcomes of delayed delivery?
Well, we have tried to cushion this by asking First Citizens Bank to grant us an overdraft facility. And the overdraft facility also is very costly for us because whenever we don't have the resources available in the bank, it means that we'll have to lean on an overdraft facility from the bank. Also, the charges relating to the overdraft facility is an off-budget expenditure. So it therefore means that the appropriations of the Tobago House of Assembly doesn't cater for or take care of that expenditure. So it puts us in a negative balance going forward, that snowballing effect of the overdraft. Also, our service providers are losing trust and confidence in us because we, in turn, pay our service providers late because our resources are coming to the Tobago House of Assembly late. And according to Section 47 of the Act, we are to receive our releases from central government quarterly or block in advance. And that has not been happening. In 2021, the then Secretary of Finance, which is our Chief Secretary, did indicate to the minister the negative effect of the late releases to the Tobago House of Assembly. And they then changed the resources, the way in which the resources come to the Tobago House of Assembly, and that is 2 months and 1 month. So we receive our resources once every 2 months, and then the last in 1 month's time. And that in itself has an effect in terms of our overdraft facility. And that's what we lean on since coming into office.
Understood. Okay, so Councillor, let's go back to the request for the minimum of 5%. You would have mentioned key areas: health, education, food security, and more. Now, let's just say that this allocation does not come as expected. What areas would you say need to be or are going to be reprioritized in order to really positively impact the country?
Well, these areas will remain on the table. We will not shift away from these areas, but I think it would be better when the budget is read for us to know how much resources would be allocated to these areas. So as I did indicate, digitization is one of my prime areas as Secretary of Finance. We have the areas on the education whereby our teachers, when they receive the 4% increase, we still have a shortfall to take care of in terms of arrears and ensuring that they are paid their salaries. We have the school feeding program, which we at this moment we are not able to sustain sufficiently because of the limited allocations. And I'll tell you, the school feeding program is right now at a minimum cost of $17.50 per meal. And even with that meager cost per meal, we are still not able to sustain the entire program with the allocations from the Tobago House of Assembly. We also have some expenditure in terms of security in schools that we are not able to meet, and it's something that we would like in the Tobago House of Assembly to revisit and relook in terms of its costs. Under tourism, we want to position ourselves on the globe. So we want to look at the airlift having efficient and strategically placed airlift arrangement for Tobago to tap into the North American and Scandinavian markets and to keep those arrangements that we have with the European markets. Food security, we want to continue building food security and food sovereignty, establishing an institute for research and advancing the agricultural
sector.
The agricultural sector, yeah. Sorry. Right? So we're going to repurpose the Kendall Farm School to establish a research institute. So there are so many priorities, but at this time, the priorities remain on the table. However, the resources that are available to us when the budget is ready, I think that is a critical aspect that we have to look at.
You know, Councillor, you focused on some of the critical aspects and shared quite a lot with us when it comes to what should be priorities and what's on the table. But let's just say in an ideal situation, when it came to the budget, if there was a specific amount that could be requested, or a percentage rather, what would that be, and how do you think that would transform the Tobago landscape?
We are looking for a minimum of $3 billion, but the area where we see significant shortfalls is in the development program. We have requested $1 billion under development program and $2.8 billion under the recurrent. So if the government accedes to our requests and do the rightful thing and give Tobago the $1 billion, we will be able to treat with the liabilities that we currently have in terms of development program, as well as advance many of our development projects. I don't know if when last you came to Tobago, but we have not been able to accelerate development as we would like because of the limited resources. And Tobago is not in a position to even borrow at this time. We also have a liability in terms of the bond financing that was accessed in 2021 of $165 million. The Tobago House of Assembly would, in fiscal 2020, in 2027, we will have to, repay investors for the bond financing that was accessed in 2021. So there are a number of initiatives that we would like to advance. And I think if we really are able to get that $1 billion, Tobago will get to a very comfortable place in terms of development.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us, Councillor Roberts. Before we wrap our conversation this morning, tell us, what are you looking forward to the most on Monday, the 30th of September, with the budget reading?
Well, the Tobago aspect, the Tobago section of the budget is obviously critical for us. I have a bias for Tobago. I've taken up this mantle, and the only way we are able to get Tobago to that place of freedom and that place of, us operationalizing the space in an optimal manner is if we get the kind of resources that are deserving. I would like to also see the government put measures in place for crime. So for alleviating the crime problem, for stabilizing the economy. We have so many socioeconomic factors affecting Trinidad and Tobago right now. We see unemployment levels. We see the spending power of the citizenry reducing. So I would like to see if the government will put things in place to make Trinidad and Tobago a better place to live.
Councillor, thank you very much for sharing that with us this morning. All the best and enjoy your day.
Okay, thank you very much.